This is a story that we have to tell in pictures, in videos. And that is why it is very, very important to get you these reports from our very own Monidapa Banerjee, who braved it all in Cyclone Amphan. Here is a report.
Trees have fallen along with electric lines, electric poles, traffic signals. People have been electrocuted because of the power lines that have hit the ground, and there was waterlogging as well. Vehicles traveling on the wrong side of the road because of situations like this. The Bidhannagar City Police kiosk at this crossing, down on the ground, blown on its side by Cyclone Amphan last night on this avenue. If the camera just sort of tries to show you the length of it, you will know how street after street in Kolkata has been paralyzed, cleaning up a tree that has fallen in Cyclone Amphan. A heavy-duty machine put in place to bring the tree down. It hurts to watch a beautiful, beautiful green tree being brought down like this. But you also thank your stars that the tree didn't end up killing. Just see this horrific picture of potential destruction that the tree held. That vehicle there smashing up the tree like it was a box of matchsticks. Sir, you live here? आप यहीं पे रहते हैं?
Yes, हम यहीं रहते हैं.
So did you see it happening?
We heard the sound, and then when we came out, we saw that it is falling, and then it fell. Luckily, it didn't fall on our house.
This police kiosk on my left is not lightweight, but the winds were so strong down this arterial central avenue at the crossing of Mahatma Gandhi Road last night that it went flying on its side. Even now, the policemen haven't managed to pick it up and restore it to its position. They have a lot to do since this morning, including clearing a lot of water that has collected on this tram track over here. You can see as we speak that the pumps are on and water is being pumped out. Huge tree that has fallen across Madden Street, I believe this is, and look at the mesh of wires that have collapsed along with it. And this is not the only tree over here. I'm going to go under very, very carefully because you just don't know what lies ahead. Electric wires are the most dangerous of all. But I'm through, and look at that. Yet another tree with a small branch thrown in between. This street is where some of Kolkata's last trams run. Lenin Charani at Dharmatala in the heart of Kolkata city. And this street is completely blocked with trees that have fallen down. Finally, electric saws have had to be brought in, cutting through thick logs of wood, getting them down safely. All this in front of the iconic K.C. Das sweet shop that every Kolkatan knows all about. And this is what the city has been reduced to at this moment. In Kolkata, with G.D. Shankar, Monidapa Banerjee, NDTV.
And there's one thing that I need to tell you about Monidapa Banerjee. We call her Monidi affectionately. Age is just a number for her. Look at this. Look at this Monidipa's report. We'll show you that report in just a short moment, where she was reporting yesterday. And while she was speaking, neither rain, nor the wind, nor the doom and gloom around her could stop her from reporting while this was happening. This is sheer determination and a great lesson that she has for all of us, for all journalists. Thank you so much, Monidapa, for these spectacular reports. Let me now introduce the Director General of NDRF, Mr. Satya Pradhan, a man who ideally should not have to do the job that he is doing. There should never be a situation where his services have to be pressed into service. Thank you so much, Mr. Pradhan, for joining us. In this doom and gloom, you're smiling. That is something good. It brings some amount of cheer. But can you tell us, have you been able to calibrate or calculate the loss or the magnitude of the destruction?
I think there's an audio problem.
Mr. Pradhan, can you hear me? Mr. Satya Pradhan, can you hear me? Okay, let me see if he can hear me. I'll try one more time. Mr. Satya Pradhan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. No, so what I was saying is that here is one job that you do, which I'm sure you also hope that you wouldn't have to. There should not be a situation, right?
That's absolutely right. I'd like to be on the sidelines and watching the wheels go by when I'm not needed. I think that's the best case scenario, but that's not usually the case. And especially in a country which is driven by disasters, and it has seen all kinds of disasters, and it has all kinds of climate zones. You know, this is inevitable almost that I'm always with my nose to the grind.
Mr. Pradhan, have you been able to, or the NDRF been able to calibrate the losses?
I didn't get your question, please.
I'm saying, were you able to calculate or calibrate the extent of the damage or the loss? Okay. Mr. Pradhan, we'll quickly fix this audio line. And come back to you. Let me see if we have our next guest. But, there's one important point that needs to be mentioned, and we touched upon this aspect yesterday also, of the lessons one can learn from the super cyclone of 1999 in Odisha. Boy, that was sheer destruction. More than 10,000 lives lost. Were some lessons learned by Odisha? Yes, of course, because you see that the number of casualties has gone down in subsequent cyclones, whether it's Cyclone Amphan, Cyclone Phoni. Odisha has learned a lot of lessons. But what about neighboring states? Can they draw some inspiration from the experience of Odisha? I also want to introduce Tapan Kumar Das. He's a Kolkata resident who went through that horror. Mr. Das, thank you so much for speaking. Can you describe to us what was happening yesterday around you?
Actually, in Kolkata since last couple of days, the state government have been issuing warning about Amphan. So, however, what was unbelievable was the impact which was so severe in places miles away from the sea. What we witnessed yesterday, something never before seen in our life. It was tremendous. The trees and the electricity pole in the city was cast aside like matchstick. You see, temporary houses made of tin roof, CJ said, tin roof, it has gone away. Even our garden, which has old, strong trees, fallen here and there, uprooted. So, this was the situation, and I'll tell you, it was a great damage, I must say, severe damage of my garage. In fact, from yesterday, our cable network is not on till now. So it is more than 29 to 30 hours. It is without the cable. So you can imagine the situation. And the government has done a lot, because the warning was to stay back in the home, to stay back in the house for the people. And I think it was the lockdown, it was a blessing for us, because the extended of disrupt, disasters, and loss of life would have been far higher. Our state government is doing their best under their capacity, but evacuating
What about your family, Mr. Das? Are they safe?
Yeah,
you
they
said
are safe.
Yeah, you said that there's no cable connection, TV connection, but the point is that in many parts of Kolkata and other parts of West Bengal, there is no electricity because the electric wires snapped.
Yeah. But here, fortunately, electricity is there. But electricity was not there from from 4 o'clock, 3:30 to 3:30 afternoon, 3:30 to 10:30 in the night. It came. Electricity is there. And you can imagine the disasters. The trees.
Have you seen anything like this before in your life?
No. Actually, I was going to tell you, this is the first time ever we have come across such type of storm, Amphan. So this was we got scared inside the room. Even myself, my wife, all were thinking, what is it going on? What is happening?
Okay.
The fantastic, the peculiarity of sound. It was so speed high, and we were getting scared. Thank God we are safe.
Thank God for that, Mr. Das. Do stay safe and take care of your family, and let's hope you never have to see this again. I believe Mr. Pradhan is now back with us. Mr. Pradhan, if you can hear me, my question to you is, have you been able to calculate the loss?
The calculation of the loss is a little long-drawn process. Typically, in a post-cyclone scenario, it will take well above 48 to 72 hours to get a sense of the loss, both in life and property sometimes. Let me remind you that in the cyclone Phony, the ultimate figure of deaths was 64. But that was not arrived at till almost 10 days to 2 weeks. So, these are things that is part of the mix of, sorting out a post-cyclone scenario. But then I'm sure the state government is at it and doing the due diligence. And when the Home Ministry team goes there to assess the damage, physical damage, structural damage, that also will get a sense of the exact damage that has happened physically. So all in all, I think we are looking at a time frame of more than a week or so to arrive at the exact damage that has happened.
Okay, so you're saying that this information is preliminary at this moment. That doesn't sound very right, Mr. Pradhan. But the point over here is you have dealt with many such experiences in your life. The NDRF has been at the forefront of fighting natural disasters, and there is always this question of how much of this is man-made. For instance, let's draw our inspiration from what happened in Odisha and how that state learnt post 1999. Right? You see that the casualty amount or the casualty figure, beg your pardon, is always very less. Certainly not as close as what happened in 1999. What are the inspirations, say, for a West Bengal or an Andhra Pradesh?
Well, I think there has to be a real hunkering down onto the zero casualty policy. When you are very hell bent on ensuring a zero casualty, you do all the due diligence required, and that could be, for example, after the 99 cyclone lesson, the Odisha government set up in excess of 1,000 cyclone shelters. Each cyclone shelter was actually designed by the IIT and looked at by structural engineers time and again till they arrived at a wholesome design. It is on stilts. It can house almost 1,000 people, and under the stilts, it is like a parking area where the cattle can also be sheltered. So all this thought has gone into it, and it is obviously lessons learned in the right way. So I think there has to be much more focus on disaster governance And if I were to ask, I were to be asked to give a generalized or a general principle, I would say in the face of changing climate and climate challenges that are coming through and extreme climate events that are happening, I think it is time for all governments, whether state, local or central, to make disaster governance and disaster response a central feature of governance itself.
That's very important.
Unless we do structural engineering, unless we do urban planning, vis-a-vis disaster, we will be missing a trick. And that could be very, very costly.
This is very important and very significant, Mr. Pradhan, on having disaster management as a part of state policy, embedded into state policy, especially in states like West Bengal, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, so that you do not have to do this job that you are doing. Mr. Pradhan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences. That was S.N. Pradhan, the DG of NDRF.